Jack Harmon looked up at the orange sky of New Phoenix and wiped sweat from his forehead. 6 months on this frontier colony, and he still wasn't used to the heat. As a combat medic with the United Earth Defense Force, he'd been sent here to set up a medical station and train locals. Nothing exciting was supposed to happen. Harmon, get back inside the walls. The voice belonged to Colony Director Alan Powell. He stood at the gate, waving his arms. We've got an emergency meeting. Jack jogged back to the colony, his medical kit bouncing against his hip. Something had the usually calm Powell worked up. Inside the main hall, people were talking loudly. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. What's going on? Jack asked Lisa Green, another medic. Something crashed about 10 miles out, she whispered. They think it's alien. Powell raised his hands for quiet. Listen up. Our sensors picked up a ship going down during that ion storm. It's not one of ours. We don't know if whatever was inside survived, but we need to be careful. We should send armed guards. Someone shouted. No, we should stay here and set up defenses, argued another. Jack listened as they argued. His mind was already made up. If someone, was hurt out there, they might need help. That's what he was trained for. While everyone was busy fighting about what to do, Jack slipped out. He packed extra supplies in his kit and headed toward the coordinates he'd overheard from the security team's radios. The walk took almost 2 hours. Jack saw the crash site from a ridge. Black smoke rising from twisted metal that didn't look like any Earth ship he'd ever seen. The design was odd, with curves and spikes that seemed to serve no purpose. As Jack got closer, he saw a trail of purple liquid leading away from the wreck. Blood. He followed it carefully. Behind a large rock, he found the ship's pilot. Jack froze. The creature was huge, at least 7 feet tall with scaled skin, the color of burnt copper. It looked somewhat like a reptile, but stood on 2 legs. Its chest rose and fell with labored breaths. Purple blood seeped from wounds on its arm and side. Jack had never seen anything like it. First contact with an alien species, and it was just him, alone, with no way to communicate. The alien's eyes snapped open. They were gold with vertical pupils that widened as it saw Jack. It made a rumbling sound and tried to move, but winced in pain. Jack raised his empty hand slowly. I'm not going to hurt you, he said, knowing the alien couldn't understand him. I'm a medic. I want to help. The alien watched him carefully. It had a weapon. Something that looked like a gun, within reach, but it didn't grab for it. Jack pointed to the alien's wounds, then to his medical kit. He minded bandaging his own arm. The alien's eyes narrowed, but after a moment, it gave a slight nod. Moving slowly, Jack opened his kit. He pulled out gauze and disinfectant. The alien tensed when Jack came closer but allowed him to examine its wounds. The cuts were deep. One looked infected already, with the edges turning a darker purple. Jack cleaned the wounds as best he could, though he had no idea if human medicine would help or hurt an alien. The alien watched Jack's every move. Gradually, its breathing became less labored. It made another rumbling sound, different from before. Jack offered water from his canteen. The alien sniffed it, then drank cautiously. My name is Jack, he said, pointing to himself. Jack Harmon. The alien touched its own chest with a clawed hand. Krelzak, it said in a deep, gravelly voice. Jack's eyes widened. The alien had spoken. Maybe not English, but a name. Krelzak, Jack repeated, smiling. In the distance, Jack heard voices calling his name. The colony had figured out he was missing and sent a search party. Krelzak heard it too and tensed again. It's okay, Jack said. They're my people. But I don't know how they'll react to you. He had minutes to decide what to do. The alien was hurt badly. Moving it might kill it. Leaving it might too. This was just the beginning of what would become the most important decision of Jack's life, and the most important first contact in human history. The search party found Jack and Krelzak minutes later. The humans stopped dead in their tracks, guns raised. "Step away from it, Harmon," shouted Director Powell, his face pale with fear. "He's hurt," Jack said, staying where he was. "I've been treating his wounds. He hasn't tried to harm me." Powell's eyes darted between Jack and the alien. "That thing could kill you with one swipe." "His name is Krelzak," Jack insisted, "and he needs medical care I can't provide here." After much argument, they agreed to bring the alien back to the colony. 6 armed guards surrounded Krelzak as they slowly made their way back. The alien was too weak to walk on his own. Jack and 2 others supported him. At the colony, they put Krelzak in a storage building converted into a makeshift medical room. Jack stayed with him while Dr. Lisa Green ran scans. "His anatomy is unlike anything I've ever seen," she said, looking at the readings. "But there are some similarities to Earth reptiles. The problem is this wound." She pointed to the deep gash on Krelzak's side. "It's infected, and he's losing blood fast." Over the next few hours, they tried everything they could think of. Nothing worked. The alien's breathing grew more labored. His golden eyes began to dim. "He's dying," Lisa said softly. "I'm sorry, Jack. We just don't know enough about his biology." Jack sat beside the alien, feeling helpless. Krelzak had trusted him, and now he was failing. Then Jack remembered something from his cultural studies class. Ancient Earth warriors sometimes became blood brothers by mixing their blood. It was mostly symbolic, but "Lisa, scan my blood against his," Jack said suddenly. She gave him an odd look but ran the test. Her eyes widened at the results. "This is strange. There are some basic proteins that are similar in structure. But Jack, you can't be thinking what I think you're thinking. If he's going to die anyway, what's the harm in trying?" Jack rolled up his sleeve. "The harm? You could die," Lisa argued. Their blood could be toxic to humans. But Jack had made up his mind. He prepared a simple transfusion line while Lisa continued to protest. Director Powell burst into the room with 2 guards. "What the hell are you doing, Harmon?" "Saving his life," Jack said firmly. "Or trying to." "I forbid this." Powell stepped forward. "Then you'll have to physically stop me," Jack said, placing the needle in his arm. He connected the other end to a clean tube and approached Krelzak. The alien watched with those intelligent golden eyes. Jack mimicked drinking and pointed to the tube, then to Krelzak's arm. Somehow, the alien seemed to understand. He extended his scaled arm. "Harmon, this is madness," Powell said, but he didn't stop Jack. The needle went into Krelzak's arm. Red human blood flowed through the tube and into alien veins. At first, nothing happened. Then Krelzak made a strange sound, almost like a purr. His breathing eased slightly. "His vitals are stabilizing," Lisa said in disbelief, watching her scanner. "I don't understand how, but it's working." They let the transfusion continue for 5 minutes before Jack began to feel lightheaded. Lisa insisted they stop. "We've done all we can," she said, disconnecting the line. "Now we wait." That night, Jack was put under medical watch. Everyone feared he might die from exposure to alien blood. But nothing happened, at least, nothing bad. By morning, Jack felt strangely energetic. His reflexes seemed quicker, his eyesight sharper. Meanwhile, Krelzak was recovering at an amazing rate. The infected wound was already closing. Lisa ran more tests on both of them. "Something incredible is happening," she told Jack. "Your blood isn't just compatible with his, it's changing him. And Jack, his blood is changing you too." On the 3rd day, Krelzak spoke. Not just sounds, but words. English words. "Jack Harmon," the alien said slowly. "You gave blood. You saved Krelzak." Everyone in the room froze. "How can you speak our language?" Jack asked. The alien touched his arm where the needle had gone in. "Blood carries memory. Blood carries knowledge. We are now Gashveric, bound by blood." No one understood what that meant. Not yet, But they would soon learn that Jack's simple act of compassion had changed everything. For humanity, and for Krulzak's people, forever. News of the alien who could speak English spread quickly through the colony. Everyone wanted to see Krulzak, but Director Powell limited access. Only Jack, Lisa, and a few scientists were allowed to interact with him. Jack visited Krulzak every day. Each time, the alien's English improved. By the end of the week, he could hold full conversations. "My people will come looking for me," Krulzak explained while Jack checked his now healing wounds. "They would have received my distress signal before the crash." "Will they be friendly?" Jack asked, thinking of the colony's limited defenses. Krulzak's scaled face made expressions that Jack was learning to read. This one looked like concern. "They would not normally be peaceful toward unknown species," he admitted. "The Vraxians are warriors. We have met 3 other alien races in our travels. All try to attack or trick us." Jack nodded. "But you'll tell them we helped you, all right?" "Yes. The blood bond between us changes everything." Krulzak placed a clawed hand on Jack's shoulder. "In my culture, sharing blood is sacred. It makes us family." Meanwhile, Jack's own changes became impossible to ignore. During a routine physical, Lisa discovered his reflexes were twice as fast as normal. His night vision had improved so much he could read in almost complete darkness. Even small cuts healed within hours. "Whatever Krulzak's blood did to you, it's still changing your body," Lisa told him after running more tests. "Your DNA shows slight alterations. Nothing dangerous that I can see, but definitely not normal." Jack flexed his hand, feeling the new strength in his fingers. "I feel good. Better than before." "That's what worries me," Lisa said. "We have no idea if these changes will stop or what they might lead to." On the 10th day after the crash, colony sensors detected a large object entering the planet's atmosphere. Everyone panicked, thinking it was an invasion. But Krulzak remained calm. "It is a single ship, a recovery vessel," he said. "They have come for me." The Vraxian ship was massive, at least 3 times larger than the biggest Earth vessels. It landed 5 miles from the colony. A smaller shuttle detached and headed toward them. Director Powell ordered everyone to stay calm. "We will meet them peacefully," he announced, though he positioned armed guards throughout the colony. The shuttle landed outside the main gate. 6 Vraxians emerged, each as tall and imposing as Krulzak. They wore armor that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Their weapons were holstered but visible. Jack stood beside Krulzak as the gates opened. The lead Vraxian stepped forward, eyes fixed on Krulzak. "Warrior Krulzak," the leader said in a rumbling voice. "We detected your life sign. We feared you lost." "I would have been Commander Vrelfar," Krulzak replied in his own language, then switched to English. "This human, Jack Harmon, saved my life by sharing his blood with me." The commander's golden eyes widened. He studied Jack with new interest. "Impossible," he said in surprisingly good English. "No species has ever been compatible with Vraxian blood." Jack stepped forward, feeling strangely confident. "Well, I am. And your blood changed me too." Vrelfar circled Jack, looking him up and down. "You are different from other humans we observed from orbit. Your life sign has a Vraxian resonance." "What does that mean?" Jack asked. The commander exchanged looks with the other Vraxians. "It means something that has never happened before. Our scientists must study this phenomenon." Director Powell pushed his way forward. "Now wait just a minute. Harmon is under my authority. You can't just take him for study." Vrelfar towered over Powell. "We do not take. We request. This human and Krulzak share a blood bond. In our culture, that makes them Gashveric, soul-tied. It is most sacred." Krulzak placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. "The commander wishes to invite you to come to our world, Jack Harmon. No non-Vraxian has ever received such an honor." Jack looked around at the shocked faces of his fellow colonists. What had started as a simple act of kindness was now opening doors to an alien civilization. He felt both excited and afraid. "I'd be honored," Jack said finally, "but I'll need some time to prepare." Little did he know that his journey was just beginning, and the reward for his compassion would soon prove greater than anyone could imagine. The next 3 days were filled with meetings. Earth officials spoke with the Vraxian commanders through video links. Everyone had questions about Jack's trip to the alien homeworld. Lieutenant Olivia Wright from Earth Defense arrived to assess the situation. She didn't like the idea of Jack going with the Vraxians. "This is clearly some kind of trap," she argued during a closed meeting. "They could be luring you away to study how to defeat humans." Jack shook his head. "You haven't seen how they treat me. Since the blood bond, they view me almost like one of them." "That's what concerns me," Director Powell added. "You're changing, Harmon. Your medical scans show your DNA is still shifting. What if you become more alien than human?" Jack had wondered this himself. His strength continued to increase. He could now lift twice what he could before. His senses were sharper too. "I need to understand what's happening to me," Jack said, "and the Vraxians might have answers." In the end, Earth Command gave permission for Jack to go. They saw the diplomatic value in having the first human visit an alien homeworld. Jack would be given special communication equipment to stay in touch. On his last night at the colony, Lisa came to see him. "I've packed extra medical supplies," she said, handing him a small case. "And this," she gave him a data chip. "It contains all your medical records, before and after the blood exchange. Their scientists might find it useful." Jack thanked her. "I'll be back in 3 months. That's the agreement." Lisa smiled sadly. "Just be careful. We still don't know much about them." The next morning, Jack boarded the Vraxian shuttle. Krelzak sat beside him as they lifted off. "You will be the first human to see Zakura," the alien warrior said proudly. "My people are curious about you." The shuttle docked with the larger Vraxian ship called the Sundered Claw. Inside, everything was built for beings larger than humans. The ceilings were higher, the doorways wider, the furniture too big for Jack to use comfortably. Commander Vrolfar showed Jack to his quarters. They had tried to adjust things for his size, adding smaller furniture and lowering some controls. "We will reach Zakura in 15 days, the commander explained. "Our fold drive compresses space, making long journeys short." Jack had many questions about how their technology worked, but the Vraxians were secretive about certain things. They were more open about their culture and history. During the journey, Jack learned that the Vraxians had been a spacefaring race for over 1,000 years. They controlled 12 star systems and had fought many wars. "Our greatest enemy is the Hive Collective," Krelzak told Jack as they ate together in the ship's dining hall. "They are insect-like beings that consume everything in their path. We have held them back for centuries, but our numbers grow fewer." Jack noticed that many Vraxians watched him with interest, especially when he exercised in the ship's training room. His enhanced strength impressed them, though he was still weaker than most Vraxians. One day, Krelzak took Jack to the ship's medical bay, where a Vraxian doctor waited. "This is Dr. Zexfran," Krelzak introduced. "He wishes to study our blood bond with your permission." The doctor explained that Krelzak's blood had also changed. His wounds heal faster now. His reflexes are quicker. And most interesting, his brain patterns show human-like activity in certain regions. "What does that mean?" Jack asked. "It means," Zexfran said, "that your blood did not just save Krelzak's life. It improved him, made him stronger." The doctor showed Jack a scan of Krelzak's blood. The cells had changed, incorporating human DNA in ways that should have been impossible. "There is an ancient prophecy among our people," Zexfran said softly, "about Starkin, beings from beyond who share our essence despite different forms. Some believe your humans may be these foretold allies." Jack stared at the blood scans, trying to understand what it all meant. He had only wanted to save a dying alien. Now he was part of a prophecy. As the ship raced through folded space toward Zakara, Jack wondered what other surprises waited for him on the alien homeworld. Jack stood at the viewing window of the sundered claw, watching stars blur past. The Vraxian fold drive made space travel faster than anything humans had developed. "We will reach Zakara tomorrow," Krelzak said, joining him at the window. "Are you nervous?" Jack nodded. "A little. I'll be the first human to visit an alien homeworld." "You will be welcomed as Gashvarik," Krelzak assured him. "Blood bonded are treated with great honor." During the 2-week journey, Jack had continued to change. He could now see clearly in almost complete darkness. His strength had increased even more. And strangest of all, he sometimes sensed Krelzak's emotions without the alien saying anything. "I think our bond is getting stronger," Jack said. "Sometimes I know what you're feeling without you telling me." Krelzak's eyes widened. "This is rare, even among Vraxians who share blood. The bond must be exceptionally strong." That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He paced his quarters, feeling restless. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit his head. Images flashed in his mind: fire, destruction, strange insect-like creatures swarming over a planet. Jack stumbled to Krelzak's quarters and pounded on the door. The alien warrior opened it immediately, looking as shaken as Jack felt. "You saw it too," Krelzak said. "It wasn't a question." "What was that?" "It felt like a nightmare, but I was awake." Krelzak guided Jack inside and closed the door. "It was a memory. My memory from the Battle of Nexlar. We fought the Hive there 3 years ago. We won, but barely." "How did I see your memory?" "The blood bond. It's growing stronger than any I've known of." Krelzak looked troubled. "This is not normal, even for Gashvarik." The next morning, the sundered claw entered the Zakaran system. Jack watched as they approached a rust-colored planet with 3 small moons. "Home," Krelzak said with pride. Zakara was larger than Earth, with higher gravity. But Jack found he could move normally despite this, another benefit of his changed body. The ship landed at a massive spaceport outside the capital city of Vexkal. Thousands of Vraxians had gathered to see the first human visitor. Commander Vrelfar led Jack and Krelzak down the ramp. A group of older Vraxians in ornate armor waited for them. "The High Council," Krelzak whispered to Jack. "Our most honored leaders." Jack bowed respectfully. The leader of the council, an ancient Vraxian with battle scars across his face, stepped forward. "Jack Harmon of Earth," he said in perfect English. "I am Elder Drex Torn. We welcome you to Zakara." Jack was surprised by the warm welcome. He had expected more suspicion. The first 3 days on Zakara were filled with tests. Vraxian scientists studied Jack and Krelzak, amazed by the changes in both of them. "The genetic compatibility between your species defies explanation," one scientist told Jack. "You evolved on different worlds, yet share fundamental genetic markers." On the 4th day, Jack was brought before the full High Council. The chamber was massive, carved from red stone. Hundreds of Vraxian observers watched from tiered seating. Elder Drex Torn spoke to the assembly. "We have confirmed what many suspected. The human Jack Harmon and our warrior Krelzak share a bond unprecedented in our history." Another elder, a female Vraxian named Mexera, stepped forward holding an ancient-looking metal box. "It is time to show him the relic," she announced. The box was opened carefully. Inside was a fragment of stone with strange symbols carved into it. Jack had never seen anything like them, yet they seemed oddly familiar. "This predates our written history," Elder Drex Torn explained. "We have never been able to decipher it fully." Jack stared at the symbols. Without knowing how, he understood some of them. "Star kin will come," he read aloud, surprising himself. "The blood will recognize." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Elder Drex Torn raised a hand for silence. "How can you read this?" he demanded. I don't know," Jack admitted. "The words just came to me." Mexera's eyes gleamed. It is as the prophecy foretold. The Starkin have come at last. Jack looked at Krelzak in confusion. What does this mean? It means, his blood brother said, that your coming may have been written in the stars long before either of our species reached for them. News of Jack reading the ancient relic spread quickly through Vraxian society. Over the next few days, Jack was invited to view other artifacts that had puzzled Vraxian scholars for generations. These symbols match artifacts we found on Mars, Jack told the keeper of ancient knowledge, an old Vraxian named Frextel. Our scientists never decoded them either. The keeper showed Jack images of similar writing from 3 other worlds. The same markers appear on each planet where intelligent life evolved, as if someone left a message for us to find when we were ready. The Forerunners, Jack said, the word coming to him from nowhere. Vrextal's eyes widened. That name, it appears in our oldest legends, beings who seeded the stars with life. Meanwhile, Krelzak had begun sharing his enhanced blood with other Vraxian warriors. The first to receive it was his brother, Thelzak. The results were immediate and striking. My senses are sharper, Thelzak reported to the High Council. My strength has increased, and most importantly, my mind feels different, more adaptable. Jack learned that Vraxians, while physically powerful, had rigid thinking patterns. Their minds worked well for battle and strategy, but struggled with certain types of creative problem-solving. The human elements in Krelzak's blood seemed to be changing this. On his 10th day on Zakura, Jack was summoned to a special meeting with Elder Drextorn. We have made a decision, the elder said as Jack entered his private chambers. A unit of our elite warriors will receive transfusions of Krelzak's modified blood. They will become the first Starkin unit. Jack frowned. Is that safe? We still don't fully understand what's happening. The warriors have all volunteered, Drextorn assured him. They see the advantages Krelzak has gained. Later that day, Jack watched as 20 Vraxian warriors received transfusions. Each one responded differently. Some experienced immediate changes, while others took hours to show effects. Their DNA is incorporating the human elements, Dr. Zexfran explained as he monitored the warriors, just as yours incorporated Vraxian elements. That night, Jack sent a report back to Earth. He tried to explain everything that had happened, but found it hard to put into words. How could he make them understand the profound connection that was forming between 2 species from different stars? The next morning, Jack woke feeling strange. His head throbbed with unfamiliar thoughts. He realized he was sensing the minds of the 20 warriors who had received the transfusions. He rushed to find Krelzak, who looked equally disturbed. You feel them too? The Vraxian asked. Jack nodded. It's like a network forming between us all. They went to see Dr. Zexfran, who immediately began running tests. His findings shocked everyone. The neural patterns in all of you are synchronizing, the doctor explained. It's not full telepathy, but something close, a shared awareness. This discovery was brought before the High Council. Elder Mexera saw it as proof of the prophecy. Our warriors have always fought as individuals, each mighty but alone, she said. Humans fight with less strength but greater coordination. Now we may have both. As Jack and the enhanced warriors spent more time together, the connection grew stronger. They could sense each other's locations, share basic feelings, and even train together with minimal verbal communication. But on the 15th day, something interrupted their progress. Alarm sirens blared throughout the city. Jack rushed with Krelzak to the command center, where Commander Vrelthar stood before a large screen. Long-range sensors have detected a hive fleet, Vrelthar announced grimly. Larger than any we've seen before. They're heading directly for Zakura. Elder Drextorn turned to Jack. They must have detected the changes in our warriors. The hive fears what it cannot understand or control. Jack looked at the tactical display. Hundreds of enemy ships were approaching. The Vraxians were brave and powerful, but they were outnumbered. How long do we have? Jack asked. 5 days at most, Commander Vrelthar replied. We're recalling all our ships, but many are too far away to reach us in time. Jack realized he needed to contact Earth immediately. The fate of 2 civilizations might depend on it. Jack sent an urgent message to Earth using the special communicator they had given him. He explained the situation in clear terms. The Hive Collective was attacking Zakara, and if the Vraxians fell, humanity would likely be next. "We need immediate assistance," Jack said into the communicator. "The Vraxians have been holding back the Hive for centuries. Without them, nothing will stand between these creatures and human space." While he waited for a response, preparations for battle continued around him. The Vraxian capital became a massive war camp. Warriors trained day and night. Ships were armed and readied. Krelzak took Jack to a sacred temple on the 3rd day. "There is a ritual we must perform," he explained, "to complete our blood bond." Inside the ancient stone building, Vraxian priests prepared a ceremonial chamber. Jack and Krelzak sat across from each other beside a small fire pit. "This final exchange will stabilize our connection," Krelzak said. "My blood has changed yours. Your blood has changed mine. Now we must complete the circle." The high priest made a small cut on Krelzak's arm, collecting his purple blood in a stone bowl. He mixed it with herbs and heated it over the fire. The same was done with Jack's blood in a second bowl. Jack drank the mixture containing Krelzak's enhanced blood. It tasted bitter but not unpleasant. Krelzak did the same with Jack's blood. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jack felt a rush of energy, unlike anything he had experienced before. His vision blurred, then sharpened to incredible clarity. He could see tiny details across the room that had been invisible before. "I can feel you," Jack gasped, looking at Krelzak. "Not just your emotions, your thoughts." Krelzak nodded. "The bond is complete. We are truly Gashveric now." They left the temple to find Commander Vrelfar waiting for them. "The enhanced warriors wish to complete the same ritual," he said. "They believe it will strengthen their abilities before battle." Over the next day, all 20 warriors of the Star Kin unit underwent the same ceremony. Each one emerged with heightened senses and a stronger mental connection to the others. On the 4th day, Jack received a response from Earth. Admiral Diane Miller appeared on the communication screen. "We've received your message, Harmon," she said. "The Defense Council has approved emergency assistance. The battle fleet is already on its way to your coordinates." Jack felt relief wash over him. "How soon can they get here?" "We're pushing our drives to the limit. Expect us within 36 hours. It might be just enough time." The Hive fleet would reach Zakara in about 48 hours. The final day before battle was spent in intense preparation. Jack trained with the Star Kin unit, helping them learn to use their new mental connection in combat. They developed a fighting style that combined Vraxian strength with human coordination. That evening, Elder Drextorn summoned Jack to the ancient temple once more. There he found the entire High Council waiting. "Jack Harmon of Earth," Drextorn began formally, "you have given much to our people. Your blood has strengthened our warriors. Your mind has helped us understand the ancient writings. Before battle, we wish to honor you." The elder presented Jack with Vraxian battle armor, sized to fit his human frame. It was deep red with gold trim, the colors of a high-ranking warrior. "From this day forward, you shall be known as Jack Harmon Skyborn," Drextorn announced. "A warrior of Zakara." The ceremony was interrupted by alarm sirens. Commander Vrelfar rushed into the temple. "The Hive has accelerated their approach," he reported grimly. "Their advanced ships will reach our outer defenses in 3 hours." Jack looked at Krelzak and the other warriors. Through their mental link, he felt their determination and courage. "Then we fight," Jack said, putting on the Vraxian armor. "Today, humans and Vraxians stand together." As they left the temple, Jack received another message from Admiral Miller. The Earth fleet had pushed their engines beyond safety limits. They would arrive in 10 hours, still too late for the initial battle. The Starkin unit would face the first wave of the Hive alone. The first Hive ships entered Zakharin space just as Jack and the Starkin unit reached the main defense platform. From orbit, the enemy vessels looked like giant black insects with glowing green parts. "They send smaller ships first," Krelzak explained as they watched the tactical display. "Drones controlled by queens on the larger ships." Jack felt fear from the younger warriors through their mental link. He sent back feelings of calm and confidence. "We've trained for this," he reminded them. "Together, we're stronger than any of us alone." Commander Vrelfar assigned the Starkin unit to defend the western quadrant of the capital. They took positions as the first wave of drone ships broke through the outer defenses. The battle began with a roar of weapons fire. Vraxian energy cannons lit up the sky, destroying dozens of drone ships. But more kept coming. Jack and his unit moved as one, without needing to speak. When drones landed and released insect-like soldiers, the Starkin warriors met them with perfect coordination. Jack had never felt so connected to others in battle. He knew where each warrior was, what they planned to do, how to support them. As they fought back waves of Hive soldiers, Jack discovered something unexpected. When he got close to a drone, he could sense confusion in its mind. "Krelzak," he called during a brief pause in fighting. "I think I can affect their connection to the queens." Jack concentrated on a nearby drone. Through the blood bond link, he projected his consciousness toward the creature. He felt its simple mind, and beyond that, the controlling signals from the queen. With a mental push, Jack disrupted the connection. The drone froze, then began moving erratically. "It works," Jack shouted to his unit. "Focus with me. Target their mental link." The 21 warriors of the Starkin unit joined their minds. Together, they created a counter-frequency that jammed the Hive's control signals. Dozens of drones around them stopped fighting and wandered aimlessly. Commander Vrelfar witnessed this from his command post. "All units," he ordered over the communication system, "support the Starkin." They found a weakness. For 3 hours, they held the western quadrant. But the Hive adapted. New drones arrived with stronger mental shielding. The Starkin warriors grew tired from constant fighting and mental exertion. Just as they were about to be overwhelmed, the sky lit up with new energy signatures. "Earth ships," someone shouted. Admiral Miller's fleet had arrived early, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. The human vessels were smaller than Vraxian ships, but faster and more maneuverable. They tore into the Hive forces from behind. Jack felt a surge of pride as human and Vraxian ships fought side by side. On the ground, the tide began to turn. Then disaster struck. A Hive queen landed near their position, with a fresh wave of elite drones. These were bigger, stronger, with glowing green patterns on their black exoskeletons. "Royal Guards," Krelzak explained grimly. "The Queen's personal protectors." 3 of the Starkin warriors fell in the first assault. Jack felt their deaths as sharp pains in his mind. The remaining unit fought desperately, but the Queen stayed back, directing her guards with powerful mental commands. "We need to reach the Queen," Jack told Krelzak through their bond. "Cut off the head." They formulated a plan instantly through their mental link and shared it with the unit. Half would draw the guards away while Jack, Krelzak, and 8 others would charge the Queen. The plan worked, partly. They reached the Queen, but at terrible cost. Only Jack, Krelzak, and 2 others survived to confront the massive insectoid being. The Queen was 3 times Jack's size, with multiple limbs and glowing green eyes. She hissed at them, projecting waves of mental energy that made Jack's head pound. But he wasn't alone. Through the blood bond, Jack pulled strength from Krelzak and the others. Together, they pushed back against the Queen's mental attack. What happened next would become legend on 2 worlds. Jack and Krelzak moved as one being, their actions perfectly synchronized. They dodged the Queen's strikes and landed critical hits of their own. When the Queen finally fell, something unexpected happened. The remaining Hive forces didn't just lose direction. They began fighting each other, completely disoriented. Admiral Miller's voice came through Jack's communicator. "Whatever you did down there, it's affecting all Hive ships in the system. They're falling into disarray." By nightfall, the battle was over. The Hive fleet retreated in disorder, having lost their queens and their mental cohesion. Jack stood with Krelzak on a hill overlooking the battlefield. Human and Vraxian ships patrolled the skies together. "This is just the beginning," Krelzak said.